Think. This word is so common and familiar to me, but yet lightly brushed aside. Growing up, I would hear people often say, think before you say something, or think before you act. In the past, I didn't understand the huge amount of impact my actions or words can have on someone. However, after my Thailand trip, I am really learning to think more now because now I know that the words I speak, the actions I take, and how I show up in the world can really affect others. I started to reflect upon this concept of thinking ever since coming back from Thailand. I remember the first day of orientation for the Thailand course, and we were asked if we knew what another name was for Thailand. The answer was the land of smiles. The teacher explained that the reason why people smiled was not because they were not struggling or enduring hardship, but it is because they do not want to inflict pain on others. This was so odd for me to hear, because some people are so engulfed by their own circumstances, they forget to think about others. This was the first time I encountered the concept of thinking. The culture of Thailand thinks about the well-being of others and decides to take on the action of smiling, so that others can feel a little bit better because smiling is contagious. My second encounter with the concept of thinking was my first day in Thailand. I attended the Child Safe workshop. Think was on all 7 tips for travelers. Tip 1. Think. Children are not tourist attractions. Tip 2. Think. Volunteering with children feels good but could be harmful. Look for better ways to help them. Tip 3. Think. Children pay a price for your generosity. Don't give to begging children. Tip 4. Think. Professionals know best. Call them if a child needs help. Tip 5. Think. Sex with children is a crime. Report child sex tourism. Tip 6. Think. Children should not be at work instead of school. Report child labor. Tip 7. Think. Protect children. Be a child-safe traveler. It's incredible that I have never really put much thought into any of these impacts that I could make. Before coming to Thailand, I only thought about making myself feel good by helping give money to the poor kids or poor people. However, after learning about the creation of orphanages as business to use children to make profit, or using children to beg for money, or even having children put on street performances for money, I've decided to challenge myself to become a more critical thinker when taking action. My third encounter with thinking was during the Make Hong school visit. It was so eye-opening to learn about all of the impacts that the upstream people cause for the lower stream people. The communities that we live in is like an ecosystem. During our visit, we learned about the effects that the dams had on the river. It can change the water levels and make it unpredictable for people downstream to predict when they can go out into the river to catch fishes. This can also make it very difficult for them to cultivate a certain species of vegetation from the river. Another issue that impacts the communities along the rivers is the action of bombing the rocks in the middle of the river. Although there are people who advocate to blow up these rocks so that the river can be used for a passageway for transporting goods, it can be harmful to the wildlife within the river and the communities along the river. My fourth encounter with thinking came when I got to see the elephants. This was very exciting, and this was my first time seeing elephants in real life. However, when I walked into the elephant training center, I thought that the elephants were swinging their heads from side to side, and I also heard a lot of my classmates ask, why are they swinging their head like that? I pondered to myself, seeking for the solution. I kept this note in mind because I wanted to look it up later online. Before coming to Thailand, my friend told me to not ride on the elephants because training the elephants is really cruel, and also riding it is cruel too. It was really fun feeding the elephants bananas, and then I thought to myself, how come it seems like the elephants are so hungry? This made me think a little bit more, and I just thought to myself that maybe they didn't feed the elephants, that's why they're so hungry. As the elephant show continued, I also took note about possible reasons that the training center isn't cruel either, because the trainers are giving those elephants a bath. As my classmates and I walked to watch the elephant show, the elephants had to do hard labor work. They had to drag logs across the field, and they also had to stack logs on top of each other. However, upon seeing this, some of my classmates felt uncomfortable and majority of them left. The reason why a lot of my classmates left was because the trainers used a tool that looked like a sharp weapon that hurted the elephants. I sat through the elephant show and watched as the show continued. I was really amazed that these elephants were able to paint a picture of a tree. When the show ended, I walked out to where my classmates were sitting, and where they were sitting was a bunch of other pictures drawn by an elephant. And then I thought to myself that maybe this wasn't something natural for wild animals to do, like elephants, and that it might actually be cruel to make them learn such a thing. This whole experience was very conflicting for me, and it was hard for me to understand from both sides of the perspective, because it might be best for the elephants to have trainers to look after them, especially if there's not enough land for elephants to roam free and wildly. So coming back from Thailand, I have learned to think more critically now about how I see things in life. I hope that by being mindful of everyone and everything, it could help make a positive difference to others around me.